See, it's on a Thursday, and I'm sure that they would like that to get people.
We'll call the Scottsboro work session Monday, October 28th, to order. The invocation given by Mr. Kennemer and pledge of allegiance given by us.
My God, we give you thanks and praise for your great goodness towards us. We ask you to be with the mayor and council this evening as they go about the public business, lead, guide, and direct them in all that they do. Be with our city employees as they go about their daily duties. Keep them from harm and allow them to do their jobs and give them peace. These things we ask in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go to item number 1, discuss resolution to award bid for landfill maintenance building. Jim, does he want to speak about this, or Mayor?
Whitney, you want to go over the bid first, and then we'll address the specifics of the low bid?
Okay. We posted one bid, mailed 5 bids, and received 3 bids for the maintenance building at the landfill. Jimmy Trailer Construction bid $193,350. Toller Construction bid $243,000. And PNC Construction bid $325,000. It's recommended that the bid be awarded to Jimmy Trailer Construction.
After we met with Mr. Traylor and Stacy, Jim and I, there was some discussion of a couple of additional items. He recommended, and after they reviewed it, doing an upgrade on the rolling doors, which is $12,899.70 for the doors, and an additional $3,500 to increase the insulation in the building. Instead of 3-inch all over, it was 4-inch walls and 6-inch ceiling. So the price that we're recommending, which still makes him the low bid, is $209,749.70. And this is that maintenance building at the landfill.
So Mr. Kennemer, on this, with Jimmy Trailer Construction, $193,350, will we add those two additions?
What you would want to do, I believe, is award the bid based on the original bid price, and then authorize the mayor and the city engineer to enter into 2 change orders, one for $3,500 to cover the increase in insulation, and one for $12,899.70 for the rolling doors upgrade. That's the way to proceed.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this? This is coming out of the bond.
Yes, it is.
We'll put it on tonight's agenda for discussion. Item number 2, discuss resolution to surplus fire department property. Ms. Phillips, you want to cover that?
The fire department would like to surplus an extrication ram tool. They would like to dispose of this by trading in towards the purchase of a newer unit.
What is that, Dean?
This is our old extrication ram, which basically moves wrecked cars around and so people can get out. And last week in the surplus sales tax, we approved the purchase of a new one. So that would replace this unit, and this is just getting it off our books. Originally bought with county tax money, but it's on our inventory list and an asset of the city, so it needs to be declared surplus. I looked at, just FYI, I looked at Gov Deals and tried to find some of these. I don't think we can get the value that the trade-in is offering. So we're gonna have to give up our batteries and our accessories and everything else to get any value out of it there, and still it was lower than what the dealer's offering in trade-in.
It's something that one of the county fire departments or other municipalities can use,
I mean,
once it's surplus.
possibly they might, I mean, some of them might, but it's a single piece of a set of equipment.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, it probably wouldn't match anything they have, to my knowledge, but, like I said, we're getting a pretty good value out of it, about almost $4,000 in trade-in.
So it's gonna be traded?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I misunderstood.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll put that on tonight's agenda as well. All right, we'll go to item number 3. Discuss resolution to apply for the airport grants. Ms. Phillips, will you heard of this?
These are just annual resolutions that we do every year to authorize the city to apply for federal grants for the airport.
Any discussion on that?
In one of the resolutions, you authorize anytime the feds will give us 100% of the funding, that's acceptable. In the other, you authorize anytime the feds will give us 95% of the funding, that's acceptable.
We like that. Any other discussion? Not, we'll move that to the agenda as well. Thanks. Go to item number 4, discuss the 2018-2019 budget amendments. So is that a new total? What you have in your packet is $63,400, and after our budget meeting tonight, we have a new total of $355,800 based on what we discussed. Any questions on that? No, we'll move that to tonight's agenda as well. Item number 5, discuss water sewer gas franchise agreement.
As you are aware, the Scottsboro Water Works Sewer and Gas Board has for many years held a franchise with the city to operate the waterworks, sewer, and now gas systems within the city. The board, the water board, the board members of the water board have noticed the great rates that the city has recently received on bonding. They're also planning on making some improvements, some of which may be funded by bonding, for bonding purposes, by tax-free municipal bonds. They're not asking the city, of course, to do anything other than extend the current franchise, which is in place, I believe, another 7 or 8 years, to do a 30 years out so they can properly obtain low interest rate funding. You have in your packet number 5, which is the last franchise agreement. What I understand is that it just asks that this continue for 30 more years from the date the council authorized.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that? If not, we'll put it on tonight's agenda as well. Item number 6, discuss the approval of 90% of the 2019-2020 budget, which comes to $19,801,869 for 90% of the budget. Any discussion on that? Do you have anything, Mayor?
About that, 90%, no, sir.
Okay.
We did, that's something out of the packet, that's in our message.
Okay. No, we'll put that on tonight's agenda as well. Do I need to wait for it to come back? Okay.
Yeah.
Can we go to the next?
Proposal. Sorry about that.
No. We'll go to item number 7, discuss the shared sales tax used for economic development for the Hutton development. Mayor?
I'll call
Okay.
Jamie or Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Gentlemen, and thank you for giving us the opportunity. Back up maybe for a couple minutes and just give a little bit of a history on this project. Give a little history on the project. As you guys probably know, we were not the original people involved with this project or bringing this particular tenant to town. This was a project that was started by Mr. Garcia, and Mr. Garcia recognized that dealing with this type of a project was a little bit more than he wanted to sign up for. It was a little more complicated than the deals he was typically involved in. And because we had done a number of previous projects with this particular operator, most recently Sylacauga, Alabama, we were asked to get involved in this particular deal. By the time we got involved in this deal, Hutton, this property, the market had already been approved by corporate. The site had already been selected by corporate, and a lease had already been drafted by the tenant and provided to Mr. Garcia. We had to come in and work with this tenant once we put the property under contract with Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia's, we are purchasing the property from Mr. Garcia, and the deal with the tenant will be directly between Hutton and the tenant. Mr. Garcia's involvement will be limited to selling us the property. So that's kind of where I just wanted to make clarify what our role in this was and give a little bit of a history on it. Now I'll turn over to Kevin to talk about the proposal that you guys have in front of you.
Sure, so thank you everyone again. When we were here last time, we presented you with a couple of options. The first option you'll see in this package remains the first option. That was a $350,000 upfront investment in this project. One thing that's worth noting is we did add some additional clarifier that says that the payments are spread out over 3 separate payments. The first would be $50,000 within 5 days of opening. The second would be within 30 days of opening, $150,000, and then the third and final payment would be within 60 days of opening. So that option still remains on the table. The second option, what was in your previous package, was spread out over a 4-year payment plan. It was $460,000. We've been able to go back and work on improving through the involvement of the third party to get the demolition costs down. The ability to now present you a second option, which reduces that investment down to $400,000. It's spread over a 5-year period. We've heard consistently concern from council and others about the developer taking risk along with the, along with the city in this equation. And so, again, that's what the second option represents. It's spread out over 5 years. The structure would be 100% of the sales tax generated by the project up to $80,000. And then anything above $80,000 each year generated would be split 50-50 until you hit that total number of $400,000. And of course, with this and third option, if the city elected to pay the balance in full early, you have that option. The third option extends the payment over 10 years. So again, the developer shouldering additional risk along with that platform, but of course with time value of money that comes at an additional cost. So that moves the bucket up to $5,000. And in that scenario, it would be a straight 50-50 split from day one. So 50% of the sales tax generated from day one would be split between the city and the developer until you hit that $500,000 cap. So again, just to recap, there's 3 options. We have improved on the previous second option that we presented. The first option is the $350 upfront over 3 payments within the first 60 days. The second option is a total of $400,000 or 5 years. If it didn't hit that number, then the number would be less. Again, shouldering some of the risk alongside the city. And that's 100% up to $80,000 per year, and then 50-50 split for anything annually generated over $80,000. And then the third option stretches the timeline to 10 years, increases the total bucket to $500,000, but shares in the split at a 50-50 and even split. And that's more akin to honestly what was done with the Dunham's development. So again, we're trying to present you with other options, hearing your concerns and trying to get to a number that makes the project feasible for us, but shoulder some of the risk alongside the city. The last thing that I would mention too is I know there's been some discussion about the signal. I just think it's important to note that the signal is not just for this project. The signal is really what the catalyst is to open the door for your car development across the street. It ultimately creates the tie-in for Redstone with the Highway Safety Improvement Plan. You're going to be closing off the access, so this creates their new access back to the signal, and then it opens the door for what we hope to be back in front of you in the not too distant future, a second phase to the behind the project we're talking about today. We're happy to answer any questions.
I got a question. As far as the property from Mr. Garcia, he owns somewhere around 20 acres. Are you purchasing, you have an option for all that property?
We have 2 separate contracts as it sits now. The first contract, we bifurcated these 2 contracts. So the first contract is just for the piece we're talking about tonight. And then we have a second contract as well for the rear property.
So that covers all 20 acres?
Yeah.
No, sir, it's the rear property is only about 8 acres, and Mr. Garcia has interest in doing perhaps some type of other residential-based development into the far rear of that. And I forget the name of the road that would tie into, but that's his ultimate goal.
Sarabetty Lane.
Sarabetty Lane. That would tie into Sarabetty, but that would not involve us at all.
Or expanding upon his self-storage that exists now.
Our only role in that would be, we would be building a master stormwater detention facility to serve all 20 acres. So it does tie in that respect.
Now, the second option again, at $400,000, and it would be 100% of the sales tax up to $80,000.
Yes, sir.
The part over $80,000 will be 50-50 split.
Correct.
Okay.
And a max duration of 5 years. If you hit it early, it goes away. If you don't hit it in 5 years, then we're short.
Yeah.
What was the budget for this franchise for a yearly tax,
We projected, total projection is at $4 million in sales, year one, $120,000, that's your 3% local sales tax. We're conservatively estimating $4 million. I'll tell you that the average unit volume for this chain is $5.5 million, but we're taking into consideration the size of the market, and so we're conservative in our $4 million estimate.
So the average is 5.5 million?
5.5 for this unit this operations nationwide.
You mentioned the red light. As far as that goes, is this contingent on that red light, the entire development?
It is, yes. This project, as as part of our lease with the operator, there is a contingency for those improvements being made. So it's critical to them, but again, I would stress it's not just critical for them, it really opens up the door for the property on the north side. And then, of course, it creates the new access for Redstone and further facilitates development to the rear. Not on the whole 20, I guess really the whole 20 acres, but potentially for a second phase that we'd like to be part of.
I know there's been a study, I think it was Volker engineer that done the intersection, I guess that y'all work with possibly, in getting some of that traffic taken care of. But are you aware that there's another study from corridor to corridor as far as County Park Road all the way to Walmart? Do you know that there's another study out there for that?
Wasn't aware, but I do want to clarify that we were not involved with Volker in the study. The study was well advanced, well before we came to town. All that we've been a part of is showing the use that we like to bring, which creates the warrant, in essence, traffic demand that justifies the signal.
Sure. And y'all are very smart guys, you know, and I'll give you a lot of credit, but that's very important to know that there's a study, you know, and it affects our whole city with this traffic. And it's very detrimental for us. And I have a big concern because there is a study out there and where the proposed locations are for those red lights. And that's not one of them.
Excuse me, are you referring to the one that Skipper did, the conceptual, that was 2011?
Sure, but it comes from the state. Well, this come.
Well, that was 8 years ago.
It don't matter, it goes through 2025. I mean,
But it also showed the road going behind Calvary as far as the service road too.
Hey, I'm just going by the plan that was recommended by the state.
Sure.
And that's what I'm trying to look at. I'm not saying you're not doing a good job, but that traffic is very detrimental, you know, to get it right. So I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, I've lived down there 40-something years. I'm very concerned. And the state's the one that signed off on all this.
Well, they took a snapshot of that intersection, Volker Engineering did. They didn't, I mean, I know President Stewart here asked for a study to go all the way to that, because there's traffic from end to end.
Sure there is.
So that's the thing that I'm concerned with. That's just something I wanted to raise. So.
Based on y'all's experience of doing this with other cities, which option have they taken before? If that's something.
You know, honestly, it's really all over the map. You know, I think that some cities, if they have the financial capability to make the upfront investment, they do, because it certainly costs less than it does over the long run. Just like there's a time value of money for us, so it costs additional dollars to take it over time, but it comes with risk, right? You're shouldering the risk with the upfront payment. You know, some cities take it over time, some cities take both. You know, what we've tried to afford the city in this equation is if you elect to go with option 2 or 3, you do have the ability to pay upfront or to advance that payment in the event that, quite frankly, I think what you'll see is once the project's open and generating sales tax, you'll say, why are we paying this additional charge to them when we can borrow against this sales tax and pay this off sooner and reap the benefits 100% much quicker?
I'll give you 2 examples, Patrick. One is a few years ago, a project was built on top of Sand Mountain called the Shots of Albertville. And that was a share back scenario where the sales tax were shared over time. To Kevin's point, the city of Albertville has seen the success of that, and we are working with them. We have a contract to purchase the old Kmart in Albertville, and our economic incentive with them is an upfront, and they were adamant. We didn't ask for it that way. We gave them an opportunity to be share back. They chose an upfront because of history. The other community I would say that did something very similar was Leeds. Leeds had done a share back over time. And a couple of years ago, they did a bond, and they paid that off because they saw it was just an advantageous to them.
Again, on the payment of it, if you took the first one, $350,000, when will those payments be made?
The first payment of $50,000 is made within 5 days of opening of the project. Then there's 2 additional $150,000 payments. The first comes within 30 days of opening, and the second within 60 days of opening. So $350,000 over the 60 days from opening.
The other development you were talking about at the back of it, the second phase of it, so to speak, Do you have any idea, what you're gonna come ask for? I'm sure you've got some businesses, retail, whatever. Do you have any idea what you're gonna be asking for when you come back?
At this stage, we don't have an order of magnitude on that project. We're still evaluating options for that project. We would love for it to be there. There's other locations within the market that may make sense, but, we don't know until we really refine the numbers, get our site numbers. Again, at the end of the day, it's not about padding pockets, it's about bridging a gap. And so this project has a gap, and this is how we see as a vehicle to bridge the gap. Just like that project, if it has a gap, we need to come back and try and find a way to work together in a public-private partnership to bridge that gap.
Sure.
If there isn't one, then we won't be coming and asking for anything. But if there is, we'll come back and we'll present ways that it makes sense or doesn't make sense for you.
You mentioned the red light again. What's the cost on that?
My recollection is around $150,000. And the Jackson County Commission has offered to give some of their economic development fund to afford that. And the Economic Development Board is going to fund that as well.
I'd like to get a real number, because I've heard 300, and I've got that from pretty good information. I'm not saying your number's not right, but I'd like to know the number. And as far as the specs for how far a red light needs to go, it's 1,300 feet from the intersection. It needs to be no less than that. That's 958, in case anybody wondering. I measured.
There again, in the report Volker submitted in the grant application, there's a proposed location for the second signal, and then they have to do what they call a warrant analysis based on development and the traffic flow for the new development.
Yeah,
And the state had already identified that, yes.
Well,
So the state may be wrong, Greg. I don't know more.
I don't know, Mayor, in all due respect. I mean, the study that I went over today, the Skipper, it was very detailed, traffic counts, traffic flow, directions of traffic, everything that you could possibly put in, and the local engineering study didn't have anything like that.
But we didn't task them to do the entire quarter.
Well, we might have, should have.
Both of his plan was approved by the state as well, just like that in 2011.
But it's the small, it's just like buying 640 acres. Are we just gonna look at 10 acres, or are we gonna look at the whole piece of property? And that's the same thing I'm asking to do here. Let's look at it all. Because there's not an intersection in town that's really, and this is not Josh's fault, because it's just been over time. But anywhere you go, we've got problems. And I don't want to have another problem with that road, because it's horrible like it is. And I'm not against the development, guys, I'm not. But I'm really concerned with the way our traffic is being handled, everybody. That's all I've got.
Does anyone else have any discussion?
I'm for one grateful that you have the traffic that you do, because we wouldn't be talking about this deal if you didn't have people shopping and being on Highway 72. It wouldn't have been a viable option for this particular tenant, or the other tenant that we're working with, if it wasn't for the traffic on 72.
Mr. President, I'd like for us to go forward and vote on one of the options or the other.
Tonight?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else?
I'll second that.
Well, I just wondered if anyone had any other discussion, favorable or non-favorable for it.
I do appreciate this second option and y'all being able to work with us to bring that down.
Yes, sir.
Because it does look a lot better than it looked before. So.
Yes, sir.
We'll put it on tonight's agenda as well.
Thank you.
Take just a minute to get everything converted over from the work session to the council meeting.